I cordially welcome you all to the session on digital transformation in higher education at TechBharat 2021. TechBharat is an initiative of Laghu Udyog Bharati Karnataka and IMS Foundation and is envisioned as a platform to guide, mentor, and empower startups and SMEs. A heartfelt thanks to Government of India and Government of Karnataka for their support and encouragement. With the growing access to internet and technology, institutes and universities across the world are increasingly interested to accept and embrace digital transformation. But is digital transformation just usage of technology, or it is more than that? How can digital transformation enhance the ways of working and deliver a user-focused services in the face of changing technology, competition, audience, needs, and behavior? What constitutes digital transformation and how adoption of digital services and empowering educators and students with digital skills and encouraging them to take decisions that consider available evidence help in universities and educators to move from wondering what the future might hold to predicting what the future would be. These are some pertinent questions to be answered. To discuss these and more, we have eminent panelists with us today. I would like to welcome Mr. Praveen Parmeshwar, founder of Lifeology, who would be moderating the session. Lifeology is a premium edtech company that holds the only Guinness World Record in the arena of assessments and coaching. For nearly a decade, he has been assisting people and organizations to achieve meaningful success through training, coaching, and consultation service. He has experience and exposure to training people from more than 25 countries and has conducted training programs and management talks to professionals, teachers, and university students in more than 2,000 prestigious platforms. A heartfelt thanks to you, Mr. Praveen, for accepting our invitation, and we cordially welcome you. I now request Mr. Praveen to take over the session and introduce the esteemed panelists and moderate the discussion. Over to you, Mr. Praveen.
Thank you very much. So good day for all the people, good day for the viewers, all the panelists and the organizers at TechBharat. So first of all, let me extend my gratitude for TechBharat for giving this privilege to moderate this fantastic discussion, having all this esteemed guests on the board. So when we talk about higher education, so India is a country which has 967 universities, including 418 state universities, 125 deemed to be universities, around 370 private universities, and a very good number of around 54 central universities. So all these universities and India as a country is impacted with the changes happening in the fourth industrial revolution, which is catalyzed by the pandemic. So every institution is on a journey to become digital now. Many esteemed institutions before very averse to the digital transformation or placing a lot of limitations as well as reason to go non-tech is trying to be digitalized now. But on the other side, so if India or if the universities were competing among universities within India, now after this digital transformation or on the way towards digital transformation, so we have to compete with the universities who are accessing our children to the digital medium as well. Because there are also organizations who are collaborating with the universities outside India to provide the undergraduate or postgraduate courses for children inside India. So to keep them in par with, so every university in India, if they are thinking about one single word, that is digital transformation. So why we should understand about digital transformation, not only the universities, because it's not only an academic discussion, because the digital transformation happening in India in the higher education sector is impacting everybody, students, teachers, parents, professionals. And so every person, the stakeholder of in the education ecosystem is impacted by this effort or the happenings in the digital transformation segment. So we have to understand what is happening in the digital transformation segment, why it is happening now and why it has to happen, and what are the thrust areas in this digital transformation activities happening around, and what is the pace and what will be the impact in the education which children are going to experience, and what should be the step forward and the mindset change with the parents, teachers, researchers, and students to adapt with the digital transformation. And on top of all this, what would be the new opportunities or the vista of opportunities for children when the digital transformation happens? And of course, what are the challenges over there? Will we miss a person-to-person connect? Will we miss the human aspect of education? Will we miss I would say the soft aspect of education? So if not, how we can compensate the same? So these would be some of the topics which every person in India and every stakeholder in the education ecosystem should discuss about. So this panel discussion would be taking these points in detail. And I have 4 esteemed guests with me to talk about this topic, and let me introduce each of them. I do have Dr. Rohit Hedge, Head of Inflexion Private Equity. Dr. Rohit Hedge is Head Inflexion Private Equity and a very core member to this entire TechBharat team. So he is well connected and highly experienced in helping European and British companies to develop their operation in India. Rohit provides a range of services, including finding distributors, sourcing, hiring talented people, marketing, and business development. So I see Dr. Rohit Hedge as a person who know in and out of the business, so closely watching what is happening in the way the education is getting shifted to digital. He delivers targeted market development plans to support portfolio company activities in India and help with investment team decisions. He also has several connections in Australia and the Middle East and has helped with business development in these countries. Being a person who has transnational experience with multiple verticals of business, he would be the right person to talk about the direction, dimension, intensity, and impact of the changes happening in the digital transformation segment in education. We have Dr. Ramesh Gupta, Associate Professor, Shiv Nadar University. Dr. Ramesh is Associate Professor in Department of Mechanical Engineering at Shiv Nadar University. He is associated with the Computer Aided Design Group of the department. He has very rich background of research and industrial experience in this domain. He has established multifunctional composites lab at Shiv Nadar University, and his lab is involved in development of analytical tools, numerical softwares, and experimental activities. Ramesh Gupta I'm very sure Dr. Gupta can talk from the horse's mouth, so how the teachers feel and what is the change he is personally experiencing with children. We have Mr. Sudhir Rao here, and Sudhir Rao is the head of Connest and having around 25 plus years of broad technology experience working in the US, India, and in global capacity across Asia Pacific and Middle East, delivering optimum results in high growth environments through initiatives that exceed operational performance target and measurable outcomes. So a hardcore professional. He is technically sophisticated and business savvy management professional with a continued career progression and documented history of bridging technical and managerial acumen in transforming of education technology coupled with insightful exposure to IT and strategic consulting. So being a person who is core to the IT, he, from the technology perspective and from the transformational perspective, he would be the right person to talk to us. And we have Dr. Sujay Nair, so president of iNurture. Dr. Sujay is the president of iNurture. He holds a computer science degree from Bangalore University and an MBA from Portsmouth University in the UK, and has a PhD researcher in AI and robotics with more than 25 years of experience. He has held positions in various media and idea firms across India, Canada, and the Middle East. Sujay being the person who is anchoring a company which is 100% transforming education into the digital front and leading that, who is closely working with multiple universities to run and establish the digital training programs. He would be talking from that angle as well. So we have these 4 gentlemen to talk to us regarding the topic, digital transformation in higher education. So for the next, how the discussion will progress. So each panelist would take around 5 to 7 minutes to establish their initial remarks regarding the topic. And we will go one by one. And after that, for around 15 to 20 minutes, we would go for a discussion, and later on we'll open the floor for questions. So we will start with our our opinions, and it's a time to make your point, gentlemen. So I invite Dr. Rohit Hedge, the head of Inflexion Private Equity, to make the initial remarks. Sir, over to you.
Yeah, thank you, Praveen. I'd first like to just talk about a couple of examples, real life examples, in terms of the digital transformation experience. I graduated from the College of Engineering Guindy in Chennai, and a couple of years ago we had our 25th year reunion, and we had an opportunity to go back to the university and actually take a tour of the university and look at the facilities and things like that. And what was amazing and actually kind of disappointing also was the fact that 25 years later, the state of the college, the state of the university was almost the same as it was when we graduated 25 years ago. Nothing has really changed in the last 25 years. This is despite the fact that we have some of the best and brightest students graduating out of the university every year. They're placed in well-placed jobs all around the world, and the college is very well funded. In spite of all of this, the facilities in the college are still lacking quite a bit. The other experience I also want to talk about is just a fairly recent experience. Just last week, I was in Mangalore. I was visiting, which is my hometown. I was visiting Mangalore, and I had taken my father-in-law along with me, who's 96 years old, and he wanted to go and visit his high school. So this high school was probably about 80, 85 years ago that he attended high school. And it was so, again, it's disappointing to see the condition of the high school, the condition in terms of the facilities available. It's of course a small town in rural Karnataka, but still in terms of the facilities that we are providing to a lot of these students in the rural areas, there are absolutely no lab facilities. The entire classroom itself, there are 3 sections inside one room itself. So 3 classes were going on simultaneously. Absolutely no facilities in terms of helping these kids learn and things like that. So when I look at all of this, I say to myself that, the digital transformation in higher education, or for that matter, in any level of education in India, especially in the rural masses in India, is the biggest opportunity for us. If we can transform that, I think, we can make such a huge difference in India. There are several things that we can do. The goals of digital transformation are multifold. We can enhance student experiences, we can improve competitiveness, we can create a culture of data-driven decision making, we can optimize resources. So there are multiple things that digital transformation can do for higher education in India. But there are some areas that are particularly fascinating for me. When I look, for example, at an area like, for example, augmented reality and virtual reality. I've studied the Baiju model for a very long time. One of the reasons because Baiju also happens to be a neighbor of mine, so I've been following his company for several years. And as I go through their platform and I see how they teach today compared to what we've learned years ago, it's transformational. And I was telling my daughter also this morning that if we can introduce this kind of teaching amongst all our students at a very early age, I think there's an opportunity for these students not to just memorize things and just duplicate what the teacher has taught you in the classroom, but to be able to think out of the box and also register stuff that you've learned in the classroom much better. So this is where I think the real opportunity of digital transformation lies. In terms of enabling all these students to be able to actually learn the subject much better, whatever the subject be, through the digital media. If we can teach these students in a much better platform, and if they can register this in their minds a lot better, I think their foundations of education would be that much better. And the biggest problem we are having in industry today, I've hired, besides the private equity firm that I run today, I ran my own business in the auto component sector for several years. And one of the biggest pain points that I had was, in terms of the quality of engineers that we used to hire. A lot of them came to us with a lot of theoretical knowledge, but there was absolutely no kind of actually, on the floor kind of experience that they had, So they were very raw in that sense, even though they spent 4 or 5 years in an engineering college. You asked them the first thing about engineering, mechanical engineering, electronic engineering, they were stumped, with very simple, basic questions, And like I said, absolutely no real world knowledge of how things work in industry. So this is where I think, again, digital transformation can make a big difference in terms of, giving them this kind of practical knowledge through a lot of digital tools to make them prepared for the real world, So this is my 2 cents in terms of where I feel digital transformation can really help, change India over the next few years.
Thank you, sir. Thank you very much for this fantastic address. So, Dr. Ramesh, Dr. Rohit was mentioning about a couple of points like number one, the beneficiaries of digital education or the digital transformation in education would largely be the people from the rural areas, because they would get access to the best resources in the world, number one. And number two, the digital revolution will make education more democratized in a way. And number three, so it would be helping people to understand the concepts in the full sense than just memorizing the facts. So these were the core aspects of digital, the benefits of digital transformation Dr. Hedge was mentioning about. So Dr. Ramesh, what do you think? You are teaching in the university, so your courses are almost digital now. So how do you experience this digital transformation?
True. Truly speaking, whatever the Rohit mentioned, it is absolutely correct. Where we need to look at not just the urban area where we have the good number of students we are located, but at the same time, if we look at outside of the urban domain, there is a quite good number of colleges spread across India, and we need to take care of their education, especially in terms of higher education. Now, when it comes to higher education, we need a sufficient infrastructure, research facilities. So these are some of the very crucial elements that need to be taken care. So if we are able to make out those and given opportunity in that direction, I'm sure they will also do much better than the others.
One, of course, it will get the rural people benefited, as Dr. Rohit said, and I think you also concur with the argument. So the other point is like, so the another benefit is like it will democratize the education part, and the best will reach out to the best. So here I have a question over here, because like, when we say digital education, so there are two aspects to that which I have seen. Number one, I would say the dreamy world of digital education, where we are integrating the virtual reality, augmented reality, the visual parts, and even sharing the laboratories wherever the physical requirement is there. And you even using theaters for giving education to children, all these kind of things on one side. Second, so the same sort of lecturing, but it is getting shifted to Zoom, Microsoft Teams, and Google Classrooms. That also we call it as digital education, or some recorded sessions being uploaded into a MOOC platform or a Moodle, and to share the link with the children. So that also we call it as digital education. So do you see that there is a big gap between what is the dreamy part of digital education and what is happening in the digital education front in reality?
See, when it comes to digital transformation, it's a very good aspect in a very good sense, because if you look at I'm able to connect with my student and my colleagues, and as well as not just limited to in India, but abroad also. That is where the connectivity, somebody told, like, everything is flat. That means you are able to teach, you are able to talk, you are able to express. Everything can be done in front of the PC or in front of the laptop. So that is where we can have the learning experience starts. Now, how well you connect with the people, how well you connect with your peers, how well you connect with your research, that will matter. So how well you communicate, whether I am sitting next to you or whether I am sitting far away, whether, see, for example, I am connecting with my colleagues who are at University of London and the Colorado University. It is as good as I'm sitting in front of you, each other. We can able to see each other's face, each other's expression, and even the dialogue is such a way that as if I'm sitting just in front of each other. So this is where I believe we can make use of the effective tools, thanks to Microsoft Teams, Zoom, or Google Meet, whatever the kind of a platform. It is really a game change in the educational system, especially in the higher education. So students also are getting an opportunity to connect in terms of all aspects, whether they want to participate in virtual conferences, whether you look at hackathons, all the activities, independent of whether their physical presence is available or not, but everything is going as smooth as possible, what they can do in offline mode. So that is where, as rightly mentioned, it is democratizing the knowledge from one person to another. It is the kind of like-minded people who can able to share, communicate, do the research, get into the innovative product. That is more important.
Fantastic. So Dr. Sujai, so you lead a team which is really I would say revolutionizing higher education. You are collaborating. I understand you are collaborating with various universities and digitalize their programs and try to take it directly to the users, the students. So how do you see this digital transformation going on? And so how well the children, the students are embracing?
Very interesting, Praveen. What I'll do is,
Yeah.
let me give you a couple of thoughts in terms of what digital transformation in the higher education space is doing. And then I'll get into the brass tacks of what is happening at the university level. If you don't mind, I'll share. You know what's going to happen right now? We've seen a couple of unprecedented, activities that has happened over the last couple of years. Of course, last 1.5 years, we've seen the impact of COVID, which kind of jostled us out of the slumber that we've been in. The complacency of what we've been looking at higher education, we have actually been forced to come out of it, right? And it's not my slide. It's what World Economic Forum says. There's no returning to normalcy after COVID-19, right? But there is a path forward, and I truly believe that there is a path forward. The path forward is phygital, which is a combination of the world of physical, merging with the world of digital. I do not believe that everything moving forward will be purely digital, right? I think there is a lot of elements of physical that's going to give a lot of impact in the higher education space, and I don't think physical is ever going to die, right? The world as we would see it tomorrow is going to have what is called a very, very innovative look in terms of what is being done at the business end, what is being done at the client end, and that is what is what we call this whole thing of the new normal. The new normal, I think, is just another frontier for innovation, right? A frontier of innovation that we will see in the higher education space, and I think the world over, that kind of thought has been creeping into higher education space very, very clearly. Like I mentioned, what is going to happen is the convergence of physical world and the digital world that will change the way we look at education, where positive aspects of the physical experience will integrate very closely with the usefulness of technology and the usefulness of this whole digital transformation that you're talking about. Very clearly, where the real world experiences will become more engaging because of mobile and technologies which will touch every human being, where the learning happens in a very, very seamless manner, where all of these boundaries that we see in the higher education space, and Dr. Ramesh can talk about those boundaries that we have in the higher education space. There will be the blurring of those boundaries, where joy of learning is augmented with the ease of technology, the access and the immediacy, what is needed right now to ensure there is a learning outcome. And of course, where learning is meant not just for acquiring knowledge, but to hone one's innate talent, to get into the aspect of not just becoming an engineer or a doctor, but there's going to be a lot more engagement in learning itself. That is what I mean by blurring of the physical and digital worlds, what I call phygital world. And its impact on higher education is going to be huge, right? Colleges and of course universities, we have seen this transformation happening over many, many years. It's not that we've been seeing just because of COVID or just because of NEP that this transformation is happening. We have seen transformation happening for the last 1,000 years in the education space. And each and every time we've seen the education sector, the universities and institutions adapting and surviving these transformative journeys. Today, this transformation journey is going to take a very, very different turn. And I'll just give you a very brief on what I think is this transformation journey. I'm sure you will all remember this time where this used to be the most happening place in the university, the library, for a learner, for a faculty, for a researcher. This used to be a very, very, very happening place. Today, it is one of the most deserted places in the university. Why? because of technology. Your Amazons, your digital libraries have taken over this physical space, right? Today, the only path of survival is digital, where all your physical campuses are giving rise to online degrees. But are physical campuses going to die? I don't think so. I don't think so. There will be digital strategies that a campus will, or a university will indulge in, will start imbibing these strategies. All of you probably would have heard of integrated learning solutions, augmented reality, personalized reality, bite-sized learning, how to upskill faculty, blockchain technology, Internet of Things, STEM going to STEAM by the addition of the faculties of art, sustainability, changing role of the teacher. All of you would have heard of all this. What is going to happen is all of these strategies, digital ecosystem will come together to achieve very, very timely, personalized interaction between various stakeholders, from a teacher to a student, various staff, the management, etc. Where disruptions that you will see today and the classroom that you will see that you see today will disappear right in front of your eyes in very, very few years to come, right? Some of the disruptions that you will see, I'd like to highlight. The walls that you see in a classroom are really going to disappear, because there are not going to be walls. These are going to be classrooms which the wall used to play a separation role. That is going to change. Walls will become a symbiosis of interaction between students, the content, the material, the teaching, and the learning. From blackboard to chalk, these walls, through whiteboards and digital monitors, will become interactive walls. Students will interact with these walls for their learning. The desks that you see today in classrooms are going to evolve too. These are desks which used to have books. Today, these desks will start interacting with the student, and students can interact using cloud, right, with their teachers on providing feedback, projects, etc. This is going to be the desk of the future. Education will lead sustainability. Everybody talks about sustainability. I've been to many, many conferences where they say sustainability is going to lead oil and gas. Sustainability is going to lead, telecom. Sustainability is going to lead all this. I think education has the power to lead sustainability. The future, education of the future will have the power to lead the way and become a place where learning to live in a sustainable way is going to be very, very important. And youngsters are going to understand this and follow this path without sustainability having to lead. So in essence, education will lead sustainability. Physical labs today, of course, all of you, in the education parlors have seen virtual labs, but virtual labs are now going to start moving towards very immersive learning holograms. And this is what is going to be the labs going to look like. And all of these students that you see on screen may not be physically present there, but from their respective locations using holographic technology is going to work on immersive learning initiatives in the area of labs. So very, very quickly, the next 2 years of learning, the transformative journey that universities will look like. Universities are going to start building a digital fortress around it, right? They're going to collect data, they're going to process data, they're going to analyze data. Analytics is going to play a very, very important role in various aspects of the university, from admissions of students to engaging of students in the classroom to evaluating the learning outcomes. Learning through digital experiences is going to be very, very important. And to become future-ready structures enabled by technology instead of all the brick and mortar structures that we see today. Resilience like never before. COVID taught us that it is only resilience that we can bring back or survive an organization. Universities are no different. Building resilience like never before is going to be a strategy that universities will have to do. And of course, automate meaningfully, securely automate is going to be the only way that the universities are going to survive this digital transformation journey, or what I call the digital transformation change that's going to hit the higher education market. Not just the higher education market, even the transformation is going to be felt in the K-12 segment. Just a quick recap on what has happened the last few months. What happened in 2020 is unprecedented developments of unimaginable proportions. Times are changing. We immediately reacted in 2020 and early 2022 which is very, very reactive. It's a knee-jerk, ad hoc, very episodic, very short-lived. And we learned that technology today is not a farce. What used to be the Zoom, which was for great meetings used by the IT sector, we know today that education is not just farce. It's not a facade. Even though data upon data actually shows unbelievable metrics of students attending in classrooms, but we know that it's still not a facade, right? It's not just fun. It's not a filmy thing to show a great classroom happening with digital transformation. It's not just fun, and it's not a fantasy. Moving virtual, augmented reality is not just a fantasy. It's happening, and as we speak today, these strategies are going into the classrooms, at least in the shop floors, right? Realization is that a 0.6 micron virus was enough to jostle us out of the slumber. We know that future of education is not about whimsical dialogues but it's really heartfelt, brain-driven approach of making a difference in the education ecosystem. Technology will be a key driver. I think it's not just technology, it's the entire digital ecosystem is going to convert what we used to think according to whatever Bloom's the cognitive era into a techno-cognitive era. And this change is going to happen right now. It's going to be an aura of data and technology to an era, an evolution of human potential and humanity. I think this is what is going to be the change or digital transformation. Coming back to Praveen, your question, some of these strategies that's happening in the universities today, over the last many months, the last semester has actually went behind Zooms and Teams and all of those, technology tools to just finish classes. Today, we are looking at various ways, various strategies, various technology to bring together not just the teaching and learning, to bring together evaluation, to bring together how do we engage with students in a more meaningful manner. How do we evaluate the learning outcomes of these students, right? Which is going to be very, very important in the education ecosystem. And every university that I speak to, and I speak to more than 50, 60 universities on a monthly basis, every university is talking this way, from BOSs and BOMs and academic councils happening online, and how that has changed the mindset of the people sitting in those BOSs. That is changing really, really fast, right? So the digital transformation today, as we've seen it, is just episodic, very, very minimal change, but that is giving rise to a huge difference, huge change. And I think it's about time that all of us educators, faculty, our academic staff, to make that change, to start talking about this change to our people, so that they are ready when they get into the classroom and they get into that virtual ecosystem. They're ready to impart the same kind of knowledge, to hone those skills among students, to build that, to have and ensure that students have the ability. So that's what is changing in the higher education space. I'm sorry I took so long to answer that question, but I hope I've answered that question for me.
Yeah, Dr. Sujaya, of course. And your initial remarks were also fantastic. And you pick up the question also very right. So before going to Dr. Rohit, so Dr. Ramesh, so do you have anything more to talk? Because I have a feeling that I limited you with my question, so that you can come up with your extensive remarks on your side as well. Sorry for that, and over to you.
Sure. Let me share my screen. And as we know, COVID has disrupted in every possible manner to every sector of whatever you take it. So education sector is also one of the most vulnerably affected field of even today what I am going to take classes is online. So in a way, I can say it is a very good need and necessity that resulted in so many opportunities, because we need a lot of evolution and reforms in case of education system. So if you look at even the Microsoft CEO, Satya Nadella, also mentioned whatever the kind of digital transformation that has taken in the last 2 months is of what they expected over 2 years. So same thing, we can expect such a huge revolution in case of education sector if we take the advantage or if we take the liberty or the leverage what has been put it on because of the COVID. So I'll see there are various ways where we have already implemented or we are already into the digital transformation. Now I look at the period. Well, let's say if you look at as an academic year as a one period, which is like a pre-academic year, post-academic year. If you look at the activities, now everything right from the online admissions, even the students can take what they wanted in terms of the seat, location, choice. Everything can be made online. Even this universities or the colleges, they can make advertisements. So every pre-academic activities that can be taken place online. And when the student, either he or she joins the academic institution, all the facilitations are such a way that the classes are online, even labs are now virtual. We can able to take the lab sessions also very effective manner. Now apart from that, now what is the whatever the physical connection that is missing from the online, that also made because of the guidance, whatever the online pre kind of appointments will able to make the connectivity in that sense also. Now there is other, apart from the regular staff or faculty, we also have a very good platforms in terms of Coursera, Swayam, very good facilitations are coming up wherever there is a need for. Now when it comes to during the academic session, we need to have examination, which is a very, very critical aspect, and evaluation. So this is the one of the toughest, and being a professor, I feel like this is what I still feel there is a need for improvement over here. And looking at the other aspect, what I teach, what I take it granted is not the way what we need to look at in the current generation. We have the feedback, we have the assessment from the students, so we need to be up to the mark. We need to take it to the world-class education. So that is where the change in the scenario of because of the digital transformation. Now students can able to attend conferences, they can collaborate nationally, internationally, they can have the career guidance, they have the all the career related internships or placements, that are all we can able to take up online. So apart from that, even recently, whatever the kind of convocations also going on in the online mode. So to that extent, all these activities were predominantly the students who are taking care of these activities, and the faculty who are able to enabling such activities. Now, when it comes to dedicated faculty resources who are going to have faculty development programs, these are also taking place online. I myself given so many faculty development program for the past 1 year, as well as I am also a learner where I am able to attend very frequently. And also we are able to carry out the research where we submitted a proposals, we are given the presentations, and we are able to make the people to convince what we are doing and how we are able to do. And also we are able to connect with the people by using the virtual meetings, and we can able to connect through the webinars, conferences, and we can collaborate worldwide. That is what the current situation of digital transformation. And as he rightly mentioned, earlier we used to have very good library with voluminous kind of books what we can have. Now it is just a matter of what you have in the form of digital form. And then a supporting database management system which will really enables everybody's activity. Now, I just want to say that whether this digital transformation is a kind of a bubble, or will it sustain for a longer period of time, or what way it will be much more better way which we can look forward. The thing is, what we are whatever we are teaching or whatever they are learning is a kind of a truly, it is not up to the mark, where we can look forward the experiential learning, where we can think of moving from blackboard to PPT, which is a 2D screen, to next level is a 3D screens, and then we can have virtual reality and augmented reality. So that is where the learning curve is an exponential way. That is where we can see very flexible learning according to their need, according to their passion, according to their will and wish, they can able to learn. That is what we can say, that now the studies are student-centric rather than the driven-centric. Now, when it comes to the kind of tools, basically I am from aerospace as well as mechanical background. The students need to have very good computational tools. If they have, then they can able to do all phases of that, whether it is the design, analysis, testing, optimization, even testing also can be done virtually. So that is where we can bring the whole physical world to the digital. That is where we can think of in future the digital twin of the all the existing physical entities, or we can interactive mode where we can able to make out. Even the products can be bring with using the additive manufacturing or the 3D printing. That is where now we are not limiting to the university, we are looking at worldwide in a collaborative fashion, where we can not only even the center where I am representing or heading the center, the main aim is how well we can connect with the industry. There are two silos which are working independently. How well we can connect these two silos, where there is a very good industry experiences and academic research experience can be combined together so that we can have very innovative products. So that is where the future of the digital transformation I look forward. And also, there is a kind of when I read one place where somebody is asking, why do you need 3 hours of examination? Can it be 2 hours or 4 hours or even open book kind of one? So why can't we make a move from examination to assessment, where depending on the quality, depending on what kind of strengths of the student can be evaluated in a different way, rather than putting same and common platform which is meant for just 3 hours of examination based on some kind of benchmarking. Instead, we can have AI based, very good tools we can make use so that we can have very good evaluation. Now comes to what kind of areas we can think of so that we can have a better future in terms of by using the digital transformation. Now, I always believe in whatever the kind of platforms we have, it should be as simple as for the user's point of view. That is the first thing what I expect from the new startups or any kind of a person who is entering into as an entrepreneur. Then we need to look at what is the end user point of view, how well it can be usable. And also, our Prime Minister always look forward for indigenous development, which leads to Atmanirbhar Bharat. So that is where we need to see that how well we can able to develop indigenous products, whatever the kind of one, depending on the need you can able to make out. Then we should have personalized learning tools instead of whatever the kind of a need it is required and a personal level, what is his capability or what is his passion is driving. Based on that, we should need to have a dedicated tools. And also it should be having a fun learning tools rather than a kind of a laborious and boring kind of one. That is where I always look forward some kind of a effective learning using micro modules rather than the 45 minutes or 1.5 hour lectures where it may not sync with the requirements. Now we need to look at one more thing is demonstrative learning, where we used to have case studies or some kind of a demonstration of the product in not just ideation, not just analysis, not just the design, but integration of all that so that any industry can able to see that, yes, this is the product, what I can able to look for. So these are all about the software point of view, where we can, or the hardware point of view. There is another aspect which I really believe that we should have very good, strong ERP solutions. What exactly I mean to say, and what we are already following is the four folder structure where we can have an interactive sessions with the students where they should be having connectivity between the senior and the junior. What I mean to say here is whatever the kind of work he is doing, how well he had done, what is the starting step, where he had landed up, what kind of learnings he had made, so that it can be passed on to the next generation, so that the reinventing the same wheel and progress will be very minimal. Instead, if we can take it forward right from the there and moving ahead, and we further, we need to have very good infrastructure in terms of storage spaces, in terms of the very good cloud-based storage platforms we need to have, and also you should have a very good digital devices, whether it is laptop, pads, mobiles, whatever the kind of digital devices, whatever we have, we need to have a very good development even in that direction to enhance our current infrastructure. At the same time, we need to have a change in the curriculum also, so that we can able to incorporate whatever the digital transformation are suggesting that can be able to implement at that day, so that we can look forward a digital campus in short period of time. In this direction, I'd like to give some kind of initiatives which SNU, our university, has taken because of our strong leadership and motivated us to look forward. On time semester has been started, which is very very well renowned people, universities and colleges not able to even start. We are able to start the semester and able to conduct the classes online, all the classes as per the curriculum. And also they made us, they provided enough infrastructure such a way that within a short period of time we can able to get on to Microsoft Teams, because we have been given the proper training so that we are well motivated and make use of the facilities in order to come to that stage. And also we have made some kind of a curriculum changes where there is a possibility where there is a high emphasis of hands-on experience is required, or a lab component is more, where we moved that one to the subsequent semester without much deviating the curriculum. And also we given opportunities for the undergraduate as a research component, so that even at the undergraduate level, so that they can able to think in the research direction. That is where our research activities as well as your guidance will be all online. And then all the academic administrations are now online. With the current situation, what we also encouraging the students to come to the campus and have a kind, one-on-one discussion where in the class we also have the students. Also, it will be live telecasted, so that we can have hybrid learning. Also, that is what we are looking for. And also, what I mean to say is we can bring the students such kind of a culture where they can become an entrepreneur or edupreneur, very specifically to be speaking. Now, in order to make the students from transformation of student to entrepreneur, we need to have his kind of, it should be research-based learning. We should inculcate. He should be given societal changes. We also look forward some kind of, what we look at hackathons, or the kind of novel solutions we can bring in, so that IP creation will be there, so that we can able to see that he should become an entrepreneur. And also I say that by last line saying that we can motivate the students. For example, one of the school teacher who motivated himself such a way that he created a maths magic, and he's from Dakshin Kannada district, a school teacher, a revolutionized the maths learning. So that is where we need to look forward in the future. Thank you all.
Thank you, sir. Thank you very much. My bad that I limited him with a question during the initial phase, and what a fantastic discourse indeed. We mentioned about the great transformation happening around the democratization of education, the requirement of education to be digital, and this revolution is going to be continued. And we also went through the micro part of what is happening in the education now. So I want to, I wish to go to Dr. Rohit Hedge asking that what are the challenges you see this, I mean, this change is going to face or is facing now, the digital transformation, because the good part, what is happening now, why it has to happen, which are the areas where is the digital transformation is occurring at this point of time. So, I mean, we touched upon those areas, but I mean, which are the challenges, the barriers, the barricades? So what do you think, sir?
Yeah, see, the biggest problem is going to be, I think, for a lot of the SMEs is in terms of scaling up, and for them to scale up, of course, is the funding. There are so many different companies around India today. There are a lot of startups in this sector, for VC funds and for private equity funds, to identify the good ones and actually fund these. That is going to be a big challenge. Definitely in terms of the opportunity, India is such a large country, with such a young population. So the opportunity for, digital transformation in higher education is absolutely humongous. This is probably one of the largest markets in the world. If, like you've seen the case of Byju's, you can see how well they've grown in the last 10 years. So I think the challenge now is to create multiple Byju's in different sectors. That is the biggest challenge. And that is where I think we're going to need a lot of entrepreneurs, to think out of the box, to think differently, to come up with solutions, in different sectors, so that, we can actually transform all of India, transform the youth of India, provide them with additional skills. All of that, I think, is the need of the hour. And the other challenge is, there's a big difference between the urban and the rural masses. So there's a big need here for a lateral shift in the mindset. That is also required. There's a requirement for promotion of computer literacy. That again, there's a paucity of computers, laptops, the availability of all this equipment and things like that. You still see, especially in the smaller towns and villages, the availability of laptops and all that is very limited. So how do you get, how do you do the digital transformation if you don't have the basic facilities? In the Western world, it's a lot easier to do this. But in a country like ours, which is relatively poor compared to the Western world, you definitely need a lot more resources like this. So that is also going to be a big challenge. But I think in terms of the on the positive side, I think when the entrepreneurs can look at the size of the opportunity. I think the quantum of people who could utilize something like this. This is going to be such a large number, and like I said, there's no country in the world that has such a large number of people that need to be taken to the next level. The other thing is also in terms of cost. If we can do this digital transformation right, I think there's an opportunity for us to reduce costs. It's an opportunity for people at the lowest level of society to get trained with a lot of skills, to train with a lot of education, to move up the ladder and do something transformational in their lives. And then the last point I also wanted to make is in terms of the technology. This is a point that I also brought up early in my discussion, where I said that today a lot of our schools and colleges and all that are pretty outdated in terms of, the textbooks are the same, so the technology is a little outdated. So here's an opportunity for us to bring the latest and the best, in terms of all the education activities to our youth, very quickly. So I think these are all the opportunities that lie. There are challenges that go along with it hand in hand, but I think, all the entrepreneurs, I think, have to take this and look at the bright side and the bigger opportunity, and then try and move forward. So like I said, I think the need of the hour is to create, 5, 10, 15, 20 Byju's, in different sectors, so that, if we can educate our masses, I think we can transform the country very quickly. This is the biggest challenge that we have.
Absolutely. Thank you very much, sir. So when coming to the brighter side, it is of course there, but when see the challenges, one, as you rightly said, is the cost to develop such kind of companies or infrastructure. Companies on one side, second, the fundamental basic grassroots level infrastructure to support these all changes. So Dr. Sujai, how do you take these points and how do you see about these challenges?
You know, very true what Dr. Rohit said. There are challenges in terms of infrastructure, the need for the education of the rural masses, and there is a huge mass of rural population that we have, which needs to get educated in a certain way. From an education ecosystem, I think some of the challenges that probably that we will feel, at an immediate basis would be the the openness to change. One of the biggest problem which we will face is the openness to change and adopt or adapt towards some of these changes that's coming on to us, right? We have been in a complacency mode for a very long time. The last so many years, we've been in that complacency mode. So that resistance to change will always be there. Understanding that this change and impact of change will be another challenge, because what is the impact of the NEP 2020? What is the impact of various elements of the new education policy still yet to be recognized by the higher education, the people in the stakeholders. So that's going to be another big challenge. Online degrees, how do you measure, the outcomes? How do you measure, various engagements? What are those various engagements in the learning ecosystem? I mean, how do you understand or learn about the cognitive abilities of students to create pedagogical practices which can align with that, right? Cognitive is one area, but metacognitive based skills or competencies that is required for the future workforce, which we have taken the onus on our shoulders to build. How does that actually pan out is going to be a big challenge. Another area of challenge I see in the education, specifically in the higher education space, is exactly what Dr. Ramesh said. It is about time that we change our evaluation and assessment methodologies, right? We have a very rudimentary way of examinations. Those need to change with war footing immediacy, right? We have to change the way we are assessing the abilities, the skills, and the knowledge of students. And that is the only way we can transform education sector to what is yet to come, or what is the anticipated outcome of the, which is assigned by the new education policy. Many of these things are yet to be realized by the higher education. The resistance to change will be there. The ideas and thought process on pedagogical practices to assessments and evaluations and tests and all of those things will have to change very quickly. These, I think, are some immediate challenges that I see. The infrastructure challenges will be there. Which technology will take the forerunner? Exactly like Dr. Rohit said. Entrepreneurs will have to think about all of these aspects before they get into it. The basic infrastructure, the ground level infrastructure that is required across the country. How do we reach out to the masses? That is so critical in the growth of our country from an education parlance, right? That's going to be very critical. What kind of technology and what technology to be used to ensure all of these will become a challenge. So at an immediate 2-year scale, or even 3 years, I see these as the major challenges. But once we are able to address these challenges, move these obstacles, make it an opportunity for us, I think there is a huge growth that is possible for us.
Fantastic. So Dr. Ramesh, so you can respond to both of their comments, of course. So because they were talking about the importance of getting the right funding. Second is about solving the infrastructure problem. Third is about the mindset or openness to change. These were some of the very important points brought into. But on the bright side, yes, of course. And one more, we have to reimagine the entire assessment scenario. So, but the brighter side is, yes, the content, the material, the best facilities is reachable for anybody sitting anywhere in the country. So how do you comment on these points, and are there any other difficulties, challenges you practically face in your education career? Over to you, sir.
I can see various platforms are right now available in teaching the subject. What I mean to say is, let's take a look at whether it is Byju's, whether it is other platform. You can get the best possible way explanation of the existing subject. What is missing, I believe, that what is way forward, or what is the challenge that you can face, or what kind of societal changes we have, and how do you solve that? That part is, I believe, missing from these kind of platforms. Now, in order to inculcate or in order to initiate that information, we need to think in different way. We need to change the mindset. We need to inform these platforms to incorporate exercise learning or experiential learning, solvable learning, where they need to think a real-time problem and come up with solution. There is no doubt, if I ask the student to tell about what is the subject details, that can be done. But what is missing is how best he is the product, how best he can able to solve the real-time problem. When he been, let's say, even after his graduation, let's say he's going to a company, will he is able to ready to face the challenges that is being given to him? Whether he is able to work in the industry, whether he can able to satisfy the customer, whether he is able to produce the products. So that is what the need. So learning platforms is only one part of it. How well you are teaching, how well you are able to communicate is only just one part of it. What we need to look at a bigger picture, and what is missing, I believe, that how do you train the students, how they are learning of process, that need to be, the pedagogy is need to be changed. That is the, I believe, the major hurdle. And apart from that, there is no doubt infrastructure plays a critical role in all these activities. Because once we have those in place, and your mind and brain is working towards that, a research-based thinking is coming up even at every stage, every part of your courses. Not just he should wait till 8th semester. For example, in engineering, he should not wait till 8th semester and do some kind of a project. No, I don't believe that. I believe in every course, every part of his course, learning has to come as a product or some kind of solvable outcome. That is what what I experienced in industry, I am trying to bring it, that culture, to the academic level. So I believe that is one of the important aspects to be considered.
Yeah, Dr. Sujay.
Praveen, I forgot to mention, and while Dr. Ramesh was talking, there's another big challenge that is, facing universities, that is perched at the edge of the table right now, is while the digital transformation and the move from teaching, learning from the physical classroom-based thing, it's going digital. One of the biggest challenges that's going to face universities today is, traditionally universities have built teaching content, right? And teaching content is a much easier way to build than learning content. Now, immediately that has to move towards learning content, and learning content is not really understood by our sector in India.
Absolutely.
That's another big challenge that is facing the higher education, institutions, and I think that's going to be something that will have to.
And Dr. Sujay, the point is how intensively the universities are pursuing it, and how intensively the academicians are pursuing it.
I don't know if I'm the right person to answer that, but if I mean, whatever I say might be speculation.
I will surely go to Dr. Ramesh for sure, but from your perspective.
I'll tell you where most of the university they have taken cognizance of the fact that I need to now start moving my teaching content to learning content.
Correct.
How effectively that is to be done, or what is the modalities of that is to be done, is yet to be realized even by the education institutions. There are, very progressive institutions in the country who have started that work already. But there is a lot of, a lot of these institutions who are yet to get into the bandwagon. And that's where there's going to be a huge challenge. I'm sure there is an ecosystem that's going to be built around it, some of the Byju's and maybe your own organization will come and give a solution for that, right? But I'm saying there is a challenge that every institution today will face in terms of delivering qualitative, outcome-based learning content, right? This is going to be a big challenge.
Sure. Dr. Ramesh, your comment? Yeah, Dr. Rohit. Yeah.
I don't know. I'll just quickly, no,
Please, please.
I'm just saying, be it digital or physical transformation, right? It all ultimately boils down to the fact that, I think the fundamental problem is still not being resolved, be it, the education system of the last 50 years, where it's been all physical, the interaction with industry is, which is something which has definitely been missing. This is something that I find, my father was a professor all his life. He taught all his life. And this is something I've also constantly told him that, I feel that, we're going to college, we're learning something, but then we're not really tied to industry. We don't really fully understand what is it that industry is really looking for. That is why I feel, be it digital or be it physical, I think that interaction with industry is most important, and that, especially now with this digital transformation happening, I think it's very important for all these startups, all these companies that are getting into this space, interact with industry, interact with, the next level of employment, to make sure that we do it right. I think that's going to be very important.
Fantastic. So, Dr. Ramesh, how do you see the point chipped in by Dr. Sujai? It's like the mindset and the learning content.
Yeah. See, the perceivance, if you look at now, everybody need to look at quality of education, because if you look at earlier, there is only, there is now, even within India also, there is so many bodies which are monitoring your performance, whether it is a NAC, whether it is IOE, Institute of Eminence status, or whether you take any other category. So everywhere you are in evaluation mode, and there is a performance indices are attached to it. Now, whether for example, your faculty, where they are producing their journal papers, how well it is being perceived, what is the kind of citations you are looking for, how much funding project they are able to do. So these are all world ranking. Now people are not just looking at within India, but they are looking forward for world ranking level. How best you are communicating, how best you are connected with the worldwide researchers and showcasing your research activities. That is where the transformation is going to happen. And that is already in place.
Got it. Got it. So, Dr. Rohit, I'm just coming to you with another question or another perspective. It's like, if we see the CS digital transformation is happening in India and across the world, of course. So a lot of brighter sides, and we have a set of challenges to address, but we are towards it. And we already took a deep dive into it, and we are trying to sort out the challenges and move forward with an extra pace. So what would be the institutional changes happening due to this digital transformation? When I see institutional changes, so will the number of universities come down? Will the number of schools come down? Will the required number of teachers come down, and centralize the entire institution around a set of very high quality team or a set of very high quality institutions, and the entire education, will it be revolving in around such a nucleus? How do you see the range and the magnitude of institutional transformation? Over to you.
Yes, Praveen, it's a little difficult to predict, but, the way things are moving today, it definitely looks like, the number of universities is probably not going to come down. It'll probably stay the same over time, because definitely there's going to be a shift in terms of, how people are going to get educated. Today, if you can attend a US university sitting in Bangalore here today, what is the need to go there and, attend class and sit in a class and things like that, And I think that is bound to happen, as technology evolves, as, companies come up with better and more sophisticated ways of learning and teaching. I think definitely, there's going to be no need for, people to travel the world and do all the, go and attend universities all around the world. So it's definitely, I think it is going to change, And from that perspective, I feel that the number of universities is probably not going to grow. The number of online institutions is probably going to grow exponentially over the next few years. And also, the other main issue is also in terms of cost. As more and more people want to get educated and go to all these universities, the cost of education in a top-notch US university online is going to be a fraction of the cost of actually physically going there and doing that. So even that, I think, is going to promote, the number of online institutions and decrease the number of physical institutions. That is my 2 cents. That's just a forecast. So
thank you, sir. Yeah. So Dr. Sujai, your comments on this? You want to chip in with an idea?
As per the education construct that the new education policy talks about, there is going to be a consolidation. Of course, there will need to be a consolidation of all of these. NEP talks about autonomy, right? What will happen is more and more universities or institution getting autonomy will start consolidating these to reduce it to, a top 15, 20,000 institution, higher education institutions of big value, right? Which is giving, degrees, which is giving pre-degrees, which is giving all of these institutions. So there will be a consolidation in terms of number of all of these 50,000 school, colleges, 900 plus universities. All of that is going to change to consolidate, becoming very large, very, value-based higher education institutions that will happen. So there will be a consolidation for some of these, large institutions to bring together the ecosystem partners of institutions or colleges, right, to become these what is called the nationally worth, high value, higher education institutions. I see this happening. From a learner perspective, there will be concentration of learners, right? That will, with ABC happening, the bank of credits happening, there will be learner kind of centric education ecosystem that they will build, which are very, very progressive in nature. So, and then, the exit clauses and all that, when once it comes into action, you will see all of these consolidations and changes in these multiple constructs happening. These constructs are very, very important. That will transform the higher education from a learning ecosystem. The readiness with digital transformation that Dr. Rohit was talking about, that will bring about the transformation from a digital perspective, and the whole change ecosystem that once we imbibe, that will give rise to very, very high value HEIs or higher education institutions.
Okay, yeah. Dr. Ramesh.
Yeah, thanks. Actually, I have some more add on to what panelist members mentioned, because I believe digital transformation is an opportunity. Why? Because even very recent article which says that Indian universities are making an MOU with the foreign universities where the students can take the courses, they can get the marks, let's say whatever the percentage, whether it is 30, 40 or 60, 70, whatever the kind of ratio, but they can able to complete the coursework staying in India with the, we can able to cost also reducing. At the same time, we are reducing whatever the exchange of money, what is going away from India, that also we are able to reduce that. So I believe this is a kind of a very good opportunity for it, especially in higher education, whether it is a master's program or a PhD program, where students can able to take up the courses in Indian universities, which are well-known kind of one. There are some rules and regulations. And what I mean to say is the quality is matters. Whether what kind of a quality you are able to maintain, which will result wherever you are, people will be attracted to you. People will connect with you, people will collaborate with you, people do the work in research, in teaching, in whatever the way. Whether I sit in Bangalore, whether I sit in Delhi, doesn't matter. Even I am in US also, doesn't matter. So that is where the digital transformation will help in the people to collaborate, connect, and able to do what they are able to do in offline mode. And also, I just want to say that when it comes to, as you asked, like, is it universities will reduce us or the number of universities will reduce? I don't think so, because the new avenues are already in front of us. Whether it is offline mode, online mode, you need a people, you need a program to run. So there is obviously only the change in the pace, the change in the perceivedness will changes. But there is no, I don't believe, but it is a very good point to be noted that quality is the kind of one we need to look forward, where we are looking over the world, not just limiting to India or within your state. That is just I want to put.
Fantastic. So Dr. Rohit, it's like, so coming back to you for, just to bring the point which I raised before, it's like, we talk about digital transformation. We talk about the requirement of funding to win the game of digital transformation, and funding may lead to quality as well, as Dr. Ramesh was mentioning now about quality. So if we take the case of some industries or some areas where drastic digital transformation happened, we could see the emergence of monopolies over there. It may be like, in the operating system, it may be a Microsoft. In the search engine, it may be Google. In transportation, it may be Uber. In food delivery, it may be a Zomato. So we started talking this entire discussion or this debate or this panel discussion by talking about democratization of education. Will democratization of education powered by technology lead to monopolization of knowledge? What do you think, sir?
Well, again, here, see, the education is such a vast field, so I'm not too sure if there can be democratization of, education, it's such a vast area, you cannot just narrow it down to one certain sector and say, we're only talking about engineering, we're only talking about medicine, So I think the opportunity here is absolutely limitless. It's like, like I said, Baiju has a very narrow focus today. Everybody's talking about Baiju today being one of the largest ed tech companies today, probably even in the world. But if you look at their field of specialization, it's very narrow. That's why I said in the past that there can be 10, 20, 30 Baijus in India, focusing on so many different areas, and the opportunity is so vast today, So I definitely feel that you can't really narrow this thing down, I think there's just going to be limitless opportunity here. That's the way I look. Yeah.
So we will, I'm just trying to go to the conclusion remarks. To all of you can take another 2 minutes to do the conclusion remarks. So we will start from Dr. Sujay.
I'd probably take the thread from what Dr. Rohit said. I completely agree. I mean, I don't know if I agree with democratization of education. As an academician, when you say democratization of education, it really hurts, right? But I think, and this is just my perspective, I think it's democratization of technology that's enabling the massification of education, right? I think that's probably the way. And I don't know monetization of learning. Learning is something which is a little more divine, little more, which is much, much more beyond our cognitive. What we know till now is cognitive, sir. I mean, talk blooms or not, right? What we know is cognitive. Metacognitive, we have not even researched. We have not even reached there. We don't even know how to, right? So learning is just a huge field. Knowledge is just too big for us to democratize, right? I think democratization of technology has enabled a lot of things, not just, and you mentioned, Praveen, about other industries, right? Yes, it's democratization of technology which has enabled, the Internet of Things, which is where a simple, bidirectional communication of a sensor network could be put into a device which is right in the middle of a field, which is enabling, smart homes and smart buildings and smart cities today. Democratization is technology is enabling, health tech. All of these sectors are being, there's a lot of change that's happening because of democratization of technology, right? Access and availability of fast, economical technology is what is democratization or enabling of these industries. I would still call it democratization of technology. In conclusion, there is a lot of change that's happening in the education sector. We need to sit up, smell the coffee, take notice of this, take cognizance of this, understand the change that is required, understand the learning outcomes that has to be evaluated in a proper manner, right? And I think that's what is going to be very, very important. Funding is very easy. Go to Rohit sir, ask him for money, he'll give it to you. And let's all build great systems and, education ecosystem in place, right? But funding is going to be a very, very important place. Where the funding moves is going to be where the generation of what you call democratization of technology that's going to be there, which is going to enable the higher education to build that change, to build that transformation, right? And so that's going to be very, very important aspect. The infrastructure that build is already happening. I think there is a lot more that needs to have, but where the real focus, I think, should be in the learning ecosystem, in the pedagogy, in the curriculums. How do we make adaptive learning a reality? How do we make adaptive curriculums a reality? How do we look at curriculums of the future? How do we build down from the rudimentary mammoth-sized curriculums that we build for engineering? How do we build it down to multiple types, bite-sized, understanding the learning ability of students and the learning agility of students, right? I think that's what is the most important part. And I think in conclusion, that's what is important to me, in my journey in the education space.
Sure. So looking forward to listen to you, Ramesh sir. Now, next 2 minutes are totally for you.
Sure, sure. Thanks. I'd like to conclude by saying this way: digital transformation is a kind of an aid in terms of the teaching, learning, and research, and in terms of the connectivity from one to another kind of one. So this is a very good aspect, what we can take it forward from the digital transformation point of view. Now, another thing what I just want to mention about is now earlier people used to have whatever their discoveries, they used to keep it aside and not to reveal to another. Now that this transformation has taken place where the how well you can share, how well you can connect, how well you can make out your IP once you protect and make it, showcase to the world, you are the winner kind of. That is where the change is happening. And one more thing I just want to say that there is no kind of a monopoly, because there are so many avenues are available where open sources are available, open source codes are available, open source resources are available. I don't see such a vast education system will be driven by a one single source person or one single firm or an industry will lead to a conclusion kind of. Rather, it is education itself is transforming the people. Now that need not be isolated, rather it should be democratized to the greater extent, whether it is urban, rural, or whatever the kind of a people, whether it is a student, faculty, or industrialist, or anybody, it has to be reached to every person in every possible manner. I think that is where we need to look.
Thank you. So, Rohit Erge sir, our
Yeah, thank you. I think, India as a country, one of the reasons we've always been a little behind is because I feel because of the lack of education in our country, And I think this whole opportunity of digital transformation in higher education, I think is, a fantastic opportunity that, I think TechBharat, if they can take the lead on this, promote a lot of SMEs, help companies get to the next level. I think, it can definitely become something like what the IT industry did for India, over the last 10, 20 years. Today, I'm also very involved in the manufacturing sector, I'm involved, for example, in the auto component, in the toy industry, in aerospace, and now also in the regular consumer goods industry. And all these industries today, we are trying to replace China, as the manufacturing powerhouse around the world, And as as I get involved with these companies and we're doing a lot of manufacturing in-house in India today, I feel that, we have a definite huge opportunity to replace China across the globe, And today this will definitely help us reach our goal, Prime Minister's goal of becoming a $5 trillion economy. So I definitely feel that in the case of digital transformation also, if, TechBharat and like-minded individuals can take the lead, money is never going to be an issue here, There is enough and more money. In fact, today, a lot of VC funds, private equity funds have more money and lesser and fewer places that they know where to put this money into, So if there are good companies, today, for example, if Byju's wants to raise another 10 billion, there'll be people lined up at his door, That is the kind of money power there is in India today. So money is not the challenge today. It is just a question of finding the right companies, providing them the room to grow, and then, people to have the vision, to take India to the next level through this digital transformation initiative. That's my feedback on all the debates that we've had over the last hour and a half. Thank you.
pleasure. So I'm very sure that the people who were listening to this discussion for the last around 90 minutes would have already get benefited from fantastic point of view and perspectives from all the panelists. So, and I believe for the audience, I believe we have shown justice to the time we have spent for listening to this debate. So we started discussing about the taking education to all the people in every nook and corner of the country, powered with the digital transformation happening in that front. And we also discussed about the importance of education being phygital, and this change is not a bubble, but it is gonna be reaching to every institution in every part of the country. And we also talked about the importance needed to be in that of faculty studies, faculty development, the mindset changes, the transformation. I mean, I think we should not see this future with the baggage of the past, but we have to see this future with a fresh approach so that it would be flexible and fluid to go forward. So, and we also discussed about some of the challenges related to the cost investment requirement, and also regarding the infrastructure requirement to scale it up, and also about the very drastic change needed in the approach and the mindset. So these were some of the points we discussed, and also we discussed about the possibility of change in terms of the institutional structure of education. So anyway, the digital transformation in higher education is a mandatory thing which is happening now, and which will only scale up and go to its top. So we all, including the students, parents, educators, coaches, counselors, mentors, investors, edtech founders, leaders, so the policy makers, the politicians, we all have to understand the gist of what is happening in the field of digital transformation in higher education, understand its real essence, and try to grasp it well so that we can together co-create a fantastic future for the country by taking education to the masses in its real sense. So thank you very much, Dr. Rohit Hedke, Dr. Sujay Nair, and Dr. Ramesh Gupta to be part of this program. And thank you, TechBharat for organizing this platform and choosing this topic for the discussion. Thank you very much, audience. I'm very sure you get benefited out of it. Thank you for watching this discussion as well. Thank you.
Thanks, Praveen.
Thank you all.
Thank you, panelists. I think some excellent discussion, some very interesting perspectives from the industry, from the academia, and from the investment community, and very well moderated by an entrepreneur, Mr. Praveen. Thank you so much for taking time out in spite of your busy schedule and being part of TechBharat.